What is good for the culture family? What is good? What is good? What is good? I don't want to say your name wrong. DeCrula? Hope I didn't say that wrong. But nonetheless, I'm glad to see you guys here. Glad to have everybody on the live session here today for the pre-market prep. We're basically just going to go through all the things that we're expecting for the charts today, what I'm looking at capitalize on. We may take a look at what happened yesterday, and then we'll tap into a little bit of what the news is saying here today. So let's actually go and start off with the news that we have for today. If we take a look, give me 1 second here. We'll pull this up. Here we go. All right. So today we have, I believe we have some type of news today. Okay, so yeah, we had retail sales get released, high volume news. It doesn't look like it had a crazy effect on the markets. Let's actually take a look at what we're expecting with the breakdown for today and what I'm going to be looking for and, mentioning to our VIP members as we're on our live VIP session today. So let's actually take a look at what we've seen happening for yesterday. I mentioned yesterday on the pre-market prep that we had a lot of bearish volume after taking out the high yesterday, and that it was likely that we could potentially see a bigger move to the downside. And that's what we ended up seeing in our session time. Our members know how we were able to execute based on this move yesterday that was sent in the VIP, right? We had a low get broken. We had some key lows get broken, right? Because price was creating higher highs and higher lows within this bullish market structure. We created this high up here, and then we pushed down impulsively, right? And we swept all of these lows here. So we had lows here. We had lows. Let's see if I could just duplicate this. This would be clutch, right? We had lows here, here, and here. Oh, let's actually let's go through it. So my bad, that's me. I had the news up. But back to the chart, we've seen that price had an impulsive move to the downside. If we take a look on the 4-hour time frame here, we had a new high get created that we were anticipating yesterday during our session that we could potentially see a correction from. So you can see here that price was creating higher highs and higher lows as we had a high, we had a low, a new high that broke the previous high, a new low, a new high. This now becomes our key low right here, right? So when this key low gets broken here with this impulsive move to the downside, that's our indication that price is in fact going to the downside and that we are going to see a possible sell move for our session. So what did we see on the lower time frame during our session, right? So price, if we dial down here, we had on our 5-minute time frame, let's go to here, because this is where we see, right? So price was creating lower lows and lower highs. We had that impulsive move down that broke through our key low, which flipped our structure from now being in a bullish trend to being now in a bearish trend, right? Following this low break, we had price start to create higher highs and higher lows in a corrective based structure. What's the difference between our impulsive move and our corrective structure? Well, I actually have a video coming out today that's going to explain our corrective structure based trades, but we had a high volume impulsive move. So generally an impulsive move is our high volume move that flows in a particular direction, and the correction is what comes after it, and it's generally low and slow volume. So we had the lower time frame shift here from creating lower lows and lower highs to now creating higher highs and higher lows with this high that got created here that broke through this previous area. Now, what did we specifically wait for? We waited for a break of this key low to tell us that price is now changed from going in a lower time frame corrective structure to now a continuation of the larger time frame trend, because we had that volume coming into our session, and on the larger time frame we had those larger time frame highs getting broken, which is an indication that we could potentially see a flip. So what we were waiting for was a break below the low, price to break this low here, and then we got a corrective structure. And then on the 1-minute time frame, you'll see this trade here is what we had set up on our live session. You can see price clearly came down, creating a new low to break through a previous lower time frame low. We went ahead and took our sells within this level here, looking for a 1 to 2 target. But as we know, and those in our VIP know, that we don't close our profits just at our 1 to 2. If we have a ton of volume like this, we get out after the first 1 minute bearish candle close, which was down here for a 1 to 5 risk to reward. So what are we expecting to see coming into this session for today in terms of what we've seen happening yesterday? Where are we at in the structure? Let's go over it, right? So as of right now, price is still in the bearish market structure, right? We're still creating lower lows and lower highs. I wanted to see yesterday if price was in fact going to respect this area here, and we did have a bullish push off of this area. Price came, tested back in this area again, and failed to break above this high. We then created a new low. So what does that mean in terms of our overall market structure? Well, our overall market structure is in fact bearish, and our key high that would flip our overall market structure is up here. Now, I told you guys in this weekend session and overall this week, any sell moves that we get on gold are likely just larger time frame corrections, because we do have a larger time frame bullish wave that we're currently in, right? So price is likely to go and take out the ATH all-time highs here at 35.10, 35.12 levels on the larger time frame. But based on what we can see on the smaller time frame, right, we dial it down to our 4 hour time frame. We have some rejection off of this level. Price came down, created a new low. We're already seeing signs of a rejection off of these highs here on this 4 hour time frame. It could be possible, let's get this out of the way, it could be possible that we see this 4 hour candle, previous 4 hour candle wick get filled, and we see a steeper move to the downside. What could possibly confirm that? Well, on our lower time frame, we're also in a bearish market structure, as price created a low, created a high, created a new low. This actually becomes the key high here, because this is the start of the push that broke through this previous low, not this right here. Why? Because this isn't a new low that get created. If price would have broke through this area here and then it corrected up and broke through again, then this would be our key high. But our key high is this right here, because that's the start of the break for this low right here. So then what are we looking for, right? Price pushed up, and now we're starting to get a rejection off of this area yet again. What can I anticipate? I can anticipate with our current market structure that we could see a potential steeper move to the downside, unless, right? Unless, because price works on if thens, unless we see our key structural high get broken, right? If price flips and we get our key structural high get broken, then we'll be looking for buy moves, and we'll look to target potentially some of these highs up here. We just had so much bearish volume coming off of the daily candle yesterday. I don't think that we would have that same amount of volume in our bullish candle to create a bullish engulfing to sweep the previous day highs. So I do believe that if we do get buys, we'll likely just look for our 1 to 2, look to target some lower time frame structural levels, not necessarily the previous day high. But as of right now, it looks like, you know, from what I can tell, that we can get a sweep and push a little bit lower here. Targets that we could look for in terms of where we would want to take profit, obviously in our session open. We got to wait for our session open before we look to take any trades. But coming into the markets, this is what we see. We could see price push down to this 33.91 area. Once we get down to this area, if we break this low, that still confirms that we are in effect in a bearish trend. So we want to make sure that we, you know, potentially look for our scale in move for a continuation down. We're only going to look for a 1 to 2 risk to reward. Unless, and this is unless, we get a ton of volume, kind of like what we seen yesterday, then we'll scale out after price shows us that it's reversing on the smaller time frame. Our confirmation will be that 1 minute bullish candle close following, you know, our take profit zone getting hit. So yesterday, our take profit zone was around this level here, but we just had so much volume that after we got into the trade, that you don't want to just get out at that 1 to 2. You definitely want to hold, because these are the types of moves that could potentially run long, right? So you want to hold it until we get that lower time frame after the take profit is hit, right? So we had our take profit hit, we're still holding the trade till you get that 1 minute bullish candle close. That's when you want to go ahead and get out and scale out of there, being able to capitalize on not necessarily the full volume, because price could continue pushing down, but you'll get more than what you bargained for, right? Which is always a blessing. And that's how we can execute at the highest level when it comes to, you know, setting our target profits. If price hits our area, if we see a bunch of volume and price continues pushing bullish, you know, you just trail your stops to that target profit area, get out after the first 1 minute bearish candle close, if we were looking for buys, right? So coming into the session, definitely heavy bearish market sentiment. If we get our lower time frame flip, which would be here at 35.25 level, 34.25 level. So levels to keep an eye on coming into the markets today are this 33.91 level at our low, and then our 35.25 level at our key high. It's likely, like I said, that we see a potential bearish continuation to the downside, but it doesn't have to do this if we in fact get that lower time frame flip, right? So that's what we'll look for gold. We've just been killing gold for the past like 3 weeks here, just every day taking a look at gold, right? Killing it. Let's take a look here at the NASDAQ. Now, what do we see happen for the NASDAQ? Similar to what we were kind of expecting coming into this week, right? Price to push and break through this high after we rejected off of this low here. The larger time frame is in fact in a bullish market structure. What did we see happen after that high got taken out? Same thing that we're seeing happen on gold, or that we saw happen on gold yesterday, is we have a lower time frame market shift. What do I mean by that? So if we come down to, let's say, our 15-minute time frame here, you can see that price had an impulsive move to the upside. Then we started to create lower lows and lower highs, and then we had an impulsive correction. We can expect that a correction is going to come after any larger time frame area high gets broken, right? And a correction, because it only took 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say like 5 candles to push to make this high. That is an impulsive move, but it's taken much longer to correct that essential move, which shows us that the overall larger time frame pressure is in fact bullish, but our lower time frame structure is in fact bearish, right? These are different confirmations that as in time we get on these lives more and more, you guys will start to understand and be able to, mark out these structures for yourself. And that's, essentially that's the goal, right? That's the goal, to be able to generate a community of self-sufficient traders, right? That's what I want for each and every one of you, to be able to be profitable by yourself. That's the whole reason we started for the Culture FX, right? So let's take a look here and dial it down to our lower time frame, right? We just seen our lower time frame, or we see on our lower time frame, that price is in fact creating lower lows and lower highs. It is just a relative choppy market though, right? So we did see a low get broke. Let's actually take a look. Did we see this low get broken? Okay, yeah. So we did see a low get broken here. We had a high created, a new low. This becomes the key high. And actually, if we dial it down here, this has now flipped from being in a bearish market structure to being on a lower time frame bullish market structure, because we have that key structural flip. So if we take a look, price created a low, it created a high, created a low, created a high. All right, price is in a bullish market structure, create a low, create a high. Boom, we get this low swept here. That switches it from now being in a bullish market structure to being in a bearish market structure. We create a high, we create a new low. This now becomes our key high, which was just now broken out of. So if we could see a potential correction, there is a chance that price can take a steeper move to the upside, being that this 4-hour candle closes as a bullish 4-hour candle. I think that is a likely possible move that we could see here for the NASDAQ if we in fact don't see, a lower time frame shift in price to push to the downside. But that's what I can see coming into the markets. The NASDAQ, you definitely want to wait for this to open up on the 930, because generally we get some volume and spike in a singular direction, and then a potential flip, right? An opening range flip. And for those of you who haven't seen it, I broke down a full video on how I trade the opening range, and this specifically the opening range flip. The video is on the YouTube. It's titled 9:30 a.m. every single day. At least that's what the thumbnail says. The title of the video is like, "This strategy is boring, but it'll make you $500 a day." And it will if you execute each step of the system. And so I want you guys to, after this session, to go through some of these videos and look, so that you can start to understand how I execute on my system and how we go about these markets and what we're looking for, right? So what are we looking for here on, the Dow Jones, the YM here? So we did see a high, lower time frame high get broken. We're starting to get in this lower time frame corrective structure. We do have some resistance at this area that price is in fact rejecting off of. But as for the YM on the lower time frame, this still remains in a bearish market structure. Why? Because we didn't have a lower time frame flip. Some of you might be saying, "Oh, well, Kai, it pushed up and then it pushed down and then it broke that high." How is it not in a bullish market structure? Because this is not a key high, right? And this is something that is so crucial, and it's so small, right? It is so small, but this can make a big difference on seeing what you think is a reversal and what is actually in a reversal, right? Because what is a true reversal? A true reversal has to break the high that started for the break of the low, right? So price remains in this bearish trend and in this bearish downtrend because our key high hasn't been broken. So what do I mean by that? Price had pushed up, or pushed down, excuse me, and then it pushed up. Then we broke through this low here. Technically, our key high is right here, right? Because this was the highest point before breaking through this low here. This, until this high gets broken at 42.69 or 42.769, this still is in a bearish market structure. So what can we expect? Well, it's likely that we get a displacement to the downside that potentially breaks out this 42.539 lows, right? With our current market structure. Now, if we get a lower time frame flip where we see this key high get broken, then that's where you can expect a potential flip and a bullish continuation. And that's something that we'll go over in our VIP for the VIP session when we hop on with the members today, right? So if you guys aren't in the VIP already, you can join the VIP in the link down below. We trade live every single day. We traded yesterday live. We got, you'll be able to get the value, and you'll also be able to see how we execute on these trades, right? You'll be able to trade live, not only with me, but you'll learn exactly how I'm executing, how I manage my psychology, how I manage my trades, all the things that you wouldn't be able to get from these free live sessions on the pre-market prep, right? So what can we expect for the YM? A potential steeper move to the downside unless, right, we get that 42.769 high break. Hello, nice the way you explain different markets. Yeah, appreciate it. And if you guys ever want to take a look at some markets and we have time, because I only trade, gold, NQ, YM, and ES. But if you guys ever have any other markets that you want to take a look at, this same strategy applies to, Forex. It applies to futures. And even stocks like Tesla and things like that in terms of how we execute, waiting for our 9:30 open, and then just being able to execute off of that. So if you guys have any other structures that you ever want to look at, but just drop them in there. And if we have time, we'll definitely go over. I want you guys to be able to, be prepared going into these sessions. So ES is the same exact way, right? ES, NQ, YM, not as much. We talked about this yesterday, but they tend to follow closely in the same structure, right? So as of right now, on the 1 minute time, there we go. My mouse was going out there for a second, but on this lower time frame structure, we actually take a look. You can see we had our high get broken. It's likely that we see a correction. We're starting to see a correction, and our lower time frame structure is confirming that price is in fact in a bearish trend, right? Why? Because the same thing that happened with the YM is we haven't had that key structural high get broken. And you might be saying, oh, well, actually, our key structural high is right here, right? Because price created a low. So let's draw this out. We had this low get created. We had a high. Then we had a new low, right? This is actually my key high. Tweaking. Because why? Because price, this was the start of the break of the previous low. So price still remains in a bearish trend. We just get a correction. We would anticipate that these areas hold as a strong resistance level and that we see that flow to the downside to target our 6,045 lows, right? So that's what we would look for in terms of an overall target today. Understanding, now this is the biggest point that I want to drive to you guys, right? Understanding that all of this is just a corrective structure for a larger time frame trade. So I have a video coming out today at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that is going to break down exactly how we take corrective structure based trades. Last week we took four corrective structure based trades that were all absolute dimes. Same exact thing happening. We have a larger time frame high get taken out. How do we know that we're in a corrective structure and that the trend isn't just overall bearish? Because of this impulsive move that we had off of a key rejection, a key rejected low, right? This is a key low. Price tried its hardest with volume to push down and rejected off of this key low and then pushed to create a new high with volume. So our impulsive moves are always going to be with volume. Our corrective structure moves will always be a correction following that impulsive move, and they generally do not see a full 100% correction. most of the time don't see a 50% correction. So I just want to keep you, just want you guys to keep this in mind, that any sell-based move today that you look for in the markets is likely of a corrective-based trade, and that we could see a larger time frame flip going on later into the week, right? Because what did we see the previous weekly close as? It closed as a bearish weekly, but our current weekly is extremely bullish. And on our lower time frame, you can see this immense rejection that we had off of this level here. This is a sign that price of exhaustion, right? We see big wicks like this and our overall market structure is bullish. This is a sign of exhaustion. When we take out a high right here and then price corrects, we have this big wick. That's a sign of exhaustion, right? So these are key indications of structural market flips, right? Somebody said, do you trade live every day in the VIP? Yes, we do, in the VIP group. Somebody said, where's your eyebrows out, YN? I got alopecia, bro. So basically, no eyebrows, no eyelashes, no hair, all that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Since I was born. But yeah, I kind of like it, though. You feel me? Stand out. I like it, though. I mean, 25 years of having it. You should like it after that much time. All right, so let's get back to these markets. Price is rejecting off of this area here. I'm just saying we're going to look for that 6,045 level. And then if we get that 6,077 level high break, then you can know that the lower time frame is switching from now being in a bearish trend to now being in a bullish trend. And then we can look for a corrective, or, a correction and then a continuation of that bullish move. We'll look to take a continuation based trade. As of right now, we're looking for a correction based trade. For those of you who do not know, I have not pulled it up. I'm gonna have to show you guys. Let's see, what time is it? It's 8:45. Let's see if I got time to pull this up real quick. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull up if I can here, I'm going to pull up my actual trading strategy so that you guys see exactly how I capitalize in terms of a correction-based trade and a continuation-based trade. I guess I could just, in a simple way, just show you guys on the chart, right? So if I'm looking for a corrective-based trade, you know, we're in a current bullish market structure, price creating higher highs and higher lows. We see our correction. Then we see another bullish move up. It generally looks something like this, and then we get the bullish move up. Then we get a correction. So how I trade these two are goodness gracious, how I trade these two, the correction based trade versus a continuation based trade, are different in terms of not the strategy and how we execute in our entry, but more so how we take our profits. That's the most important difference between our corrective based trade and our continuation based trade. Because if I'm looking for a correction based trade, I want to wait for our lower time frame market shift, and then I'm just going to look to target 1 to 2 risk to reward, being that, you know, price isn't pushing down with volume. Otherwise, we just wait till our first 1 minute bearish candle close after our entry. I go through our full entry, how I enter, and that video that I'd mentioned to you guys before, but just to, in a simple term, this is how I go about that. But our continuation based trades, right, that go in the direction of the markets, we can hold these trades for much longer. Why? Let's go back. There we go. Why? Because, let me delete this. There we go. Because we know our overall market structure is bullish, right? So this is going to offer us more in terms of a risk to reward perspective than looking for a corrective based trade, which goes against the trend. Why am I looking to get out my profits at just a strict 1 to 2 risk to reward or a nearest resistance? Because it's generally sometimes a supply or demand zone. It's because that at any given moment, price can flip into the direction of what the larger time frame trend is. That's why I was mentioning to you guys today, if you look to take sales, you can see that we're getting some volume here, likely to target our 60 4 or 5 levels. If we get a sell move to the downside, just keep in mind that it's going to be a corrective based trade, which means that we in fact would be, you know, looking to just take a quick 1 to 2, because at any given point price can flip into the direction of the trend and go back to take out these highs that was just created, right? Because we have our impulsive move, a correction. You likely see an impulsive move following that. So it's not a matter of when, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? And we don't want to just be holding on to these trades, trying to swing trade a corrective structure based trade, right? You can hold, you know, a continuation based trade, but not correction based trade. So I hope you guys was able to get some value out of today's pre-market prep. Like I said, if you guys want to join us for the VIP live trading session, we trade live every single day, Monday through Friday. Not only that, but you'll also get our post-market breakdowns of what we expect or what we've seen happen in the markets, of a review if you can't join the VIPs. And you'll also see what we're expecting for the next daily, because the daily closes at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. So we're definitely sending out a video breakdown of, what we're expecting following the daily candle close. You guys can always join us here at our, free pre-market preps. But like I said, if you want to have that more direct one-on-one learning type environment, you can join the VIP. Great people in there, traders learning, traders, receiving profits. We had one trader make $400 last week on a correction based trade that we took, which is always good to see that our members applying the things that we are teaching and seeing the results, right? That's what we want, is to build results, and not just something that I'm telling you, but something that you know for yourself that you can do without my help. That's the goal, is to be able to teach you guys how to look at the market structure and then to trade this by yourself, right? Not to be able to depend on anybody or have to depend on anybody or signals or anything like that. Like, we want to be independent, profitable traders, and it starts with building the right habits and being around the right people. So I will see those of you who join our VIP. I'll see you guys today. If not, I'll see you guys tomorrow for our pre-market prep. And again, I have a video coming out at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time that's going to explain to you exactly in depth how to go through our correction based trade, how I take it start to finish, from entry, stop loss, take profit, the whole 9 yards. You'll see the live trades that we took as well. But I hope you guys got some value out of this, and I will see you guys tomorrow.